Module 1, Inheritance, the Origin of Genes. Even before the existence of DNA had been discovered, or its role in heredity elucidated, theories about inheritance based on genes had been hypothesized. It was Darwin who first proposed the existence of something like a gene, and he called his theory pangenesis. Darwin hypothesized that there were tiny circulating particles of heritable information that arose from all parts of the body, carrying information about how to make that part, and collected in sperm and egg cells. He called this unit of inheritance a gemule. When Darwin discovered that different birds he collected during his trip to the Galapagos were actually all finches, he realized that heritable elements could also produce new species. To fit his ideas about inheritance and evolution, Darwin proposed that gemules must be transmittable, they must be able to be passed from one generation to the next, they must be stable, and they maintain their integrity over time, and they must be mutable, they must have the ability to change while being fairly stable. Where Darwin went wrong was in the notion that experience could change the quality of the information in a gemule, and that by simply being exposed to an event, for example, a beak pecking against a hard rock or a mouse losing its tail, would change the composition of the gemules in the next generation. Darwin could never reconcile this idea with his theory of evolution. Contrary to Darwin's hypotheses about circulating particles, Mendel's and others' work in plant breeding suggested that genetic information passed from both parents in discrete units, likely within the sperm and the egg. It was actually fortunate that Mendel chose discrete traits on which to work, or he may not have observed such consistent outcomes. Things like pea color and flower color and plant height all turned out to be driven by single genes. In fact, Mendel's findings were partly the basis of the incorrect assumption for many years that there's a one-to-one relationship between all genes and proteins. Mendel's work might have gone completely unnoticed if not for its discovery by one of the leading scientists of the time. It was actually William Bateson, a renowned biologist, who discovered Mendel's obscure paper and immediately deduced the importance of his work. In 1905, Bateson coined the term genetics, and the science of heredity became one of the fastest growing areas of biology at that time. Bateson was more insightful and prescient than he even could have imagined when he wrote, "The science of heredity will soon provide power on a stupendous scale, and in some country, at some time, not perhaps far distant, that power will be applied to control the composition of a nation." Bateson accurately predicted that once the basis of heredity was understood, someone, somewhere, would seek to manipulate it. Whether he knew that genetics would be the justification for eugenic cleansing and the great and terrible discoveries that followed will never be known.